Mebo Kofi Krantin video be actually one of the young men and also show serious prospects. Our Ghana consistency, vibrancy here, Kofi Krantin. I'll show you his video. And some of the things are Kennedy Agyapong, Kofi Krantin, Kennedy Agyapong, this or be contested. Fortunately, Omumi and Nuno, schoolmates. Omumi and Nuno, schoolmate. But me pasi idea issue be so. One of the reasons why 2024 elections, 2023, Jana so gade. Because of floating voters. Floating voters in the Kennedy Agyapong, you know. And nipa na almost swing echo different sides because I've seen even NDC for almost floating voters, almost on Betwama Kennedy Agyapong. And we're going to center on floating voters. Ghana elections. Obi obedina baby akacho say floating voter ni no onim elections. I'm telling you. You're from Vim Lady Appiah live on Jasu Jumedie. Okay, 101.7 FM. And we a floating voter. I'll bet me the link to one joining a natural wagging. Joining a natural wagging. So we're near fear. 2000 auto my wine, so auto 92, auto 96. My mother, even Oxford Dictionary. Almost definition of floating voter. Almost floating voter. Ayo bia. Onto Falcon. Onto my one candidate. Onto my one person. Onto my one party. Mini abema manase Azuria would a classic voting floating voter example. Debioka. So on what one NDC, what one NPP. The next election, Okawaye board as Sankas or Betwama or Betwa against NPP at one NDC. Meanwhile, what one NPP that. So that is a classic vote. What's your elections as CDD for report as CDD for yeah. Typical Ghana for no. NDC NPP no munye kuta 40%. Omo ye die hard people. We are more than ombeto. Ebini voter region. Ebini Ashanti region. What omo ye die ebini Eastern region. Omo to NPP NDC. We are den voter region hardly. So ombeto another party. Except to say Kofi Jamasi a try of voter region Ketu North. Wenya because voter omo to one way. Ashanti region especially Kumasi Krano. Say so-called stronghold biom. Because last week analysis and NDC increasing, they are growing in Ashanti region. It is the reason why floating voter are crucial. See the research on me at Ghana, 31% of your population floating voters. Who told you say floating voter in Ghana elections? No biano NDC MPP. No biano NDC MPP. Ghana elections are yet two NDC MPP. Two main political parties. Obia by election, Obia could have 40% of their total vote. Obia 40% of the total vote. And when they die hard party for no. And it's a Ghana constitution, they say, who here 50 plus 1 plus an additional single 1%. And yeah, 1% additional single 1. Eko mepe. Now what you mean the president? That means you will need floating voters. Floating voters they decided Ghana elections. And now you see, NDC Penny and Cassia Pesa White. 2 years ago, a trial article be international research papers. No, the research papers confirm report as CDD Center for Democratic Development or my for years. Nini na almost say floating voters and they decided elections. Why wouldn't floating voters in part of education? We hear education. Omo no mudi Kennedy Agyapong chino. Omo no mudi Kofi Krantin. The people who want issues. The reason why a floating voters here floating voters is a research nature say floating voters or vote based on corruption, food, first a utility in so kania power se kania dum ana so say rose ya na say road tinye sana floating voters vote but omo ye party full soldiers die hard for there NDC ye tuntum ye kokokro NDC MPP ye tuntum ye kokokro MPP MPP ye corrupt onya corrupt crop MPP those people no 40% for NDC ni MPP no omo nye floating voters in voting on issues omo is lego no floating voters ye ma me no omo tudwom floating voters cause your top body na body aboaden a obe sesana dwen onti say ya na omo ye interview say na ma boaden ye nto aba they vote on issues body they vote on issues Benku body they vote on issues banche a body they vote on issues omo nye die hard supporters so enti wa what and crying Kumase what's all the why on what's all the floating voter what the die harder you are not going to consider the issue MPP yemikro muni NDC for yemikro mu for enti na wo to awonye floating voters on ka ho Floating voters they decided all Ghana elections in 31%, between 29 and 31% of your voting population are your floating voters. Or die hard. Or floating voters. Until President Mahama, when President Mahama before crowd vice president, floating voters na net drop President Mahama, including NPP phobia, almost your floating voters. Those people near from sympathizers. So per party be cry on your die hard or your floating voter. Into by and say, okay, and make ramento. Because in can me per party way, but on my dear way on my intended mekoha. So President Mahama all banner. There were people who loved him. A lot of them were floating voters. A lot of them were floating voters. A lot of them were floating voters. President Mahama and Kofo amu don be bread don omi NPP for amu don. These are NPP sympathizers. Omi die hard. Sahana nana do bano. There were even NDC people who thought, oh, mumian try near here. Those people munya die hard. Omi floating voters. Omuna research a CDD. A year first, they are all saying that Omi are floating voters. 20,000 elections and the year for President Rawlings Afriyie Akoto, my President Akufo-Addo. 14.8% of the people voted for President Akufo and the winning election 2000. There were NDC people even cared for. A floating voter. They opted for President 14.8% research. 14.8%. Where obi one man onim. Eti na yenkofo ni baby almost sorry amo be ye yenkofo no. And I'm kind of boy kwasiani ade omo ye yenkofo because they have no content. Why yenkofo on trendy? Obey yenkofo answer when you figures. It's a simple way. Take your time, read, analyze the numbers. Now this in the MPP no, obi to say dunketi awa being rough. Moon is ano. People like that, they look at these numbers and they analyze. And him funny falling short the last election. And then a voter turnout no call form. And then a voter turnout no pass, but still you vote a total vote no call form. These are the things that party apart for no more. Ti one na now di atema unu nye party apart nti uno why do you need in Kwala life. But the people who are serious saying this MPP form penny for no directors of election, this is how they do the analysis. Form analysis, to make to even electoral areas, electoral area where nipa do send it to her. Now they are two census, they are no statistical service for report on the buy and say, nipa way, how many people live here in Ablekuma? How many people in Amasaman? How many people in Pokwase? How many people in Jowlu? Omo Jowlu, no Omo sorry ben. Do not say they are Muslims. Omo to Abaseng since a year first 1992. Omo to Abaseng. Omo to Abama NDC and Omo to Abama NPP. Abaton Omo to Omo so Madiana since Omo to 96 no. Saane to so and Omo so Madi. Then be Tracy and say no elections Omo to NDC. Nano Omo to NPP. Omo sans Obi to say Lejokuku Krowo. Lejokuku are two constituencies. Teshi and Nungwa, Lejokuku Krowo. Omo ye floating voters, omo to die hard one place. It's in our ye NDC, you ye NPP who sit in so Adia Chombe 20. Okoboy, it's a classic example. He's a casualty of floating voters. Okoboy. Oba even NPP for now Beka say bra, yan toma, they will change you and bring another person. 2024, my dekra made akata meniacho NPP candidate no betu Okoboy no. Lejokuku for better to Nefi Akonya. So that is the history, the custom of constituency, Lejokuku ni krowo. Even what the way crowd the ibeka lada de koto ponkra beka labadi. Omu nyina to one place. Omu use gumptions, omu the issues. Oba uye say, oba one ye say. And yet to say, we have Papa Kroma dance and I say, a first Amansia Central. Omu to MPP in Kwaya and then quite new constituency as one to MPP. Omu issues, omu de to abo. Omu sentiment. Omu MPP. Omu wukra, some are one to MPP. Those are die-hard people. And you're floating voters. Into a moment, the ending 40% NDC near MPP one. 40% MPP near NDC one. But omo sisa omadwen nungwa teshi udia grabeko ha. Those are the areas I say what you do campaign be a party for no omo ye serious wo no. So Ghana there are floating voters and omo decide elections. Floating voters and omo decide elections. Enti wa ebia wo nye floating voter asheda yo ho so ye floating voter wo nye floating voter wo nya to one way a wo nye floating voter wo pretend kwa wo nye floating voter the osesa na dwen on no ye floating voter oto ma NDC wato ma NPP no wato say 2000 election na make cho say nipa 14.8% omo to ma president Kufo na president Kufo di win ye obe kai 2000 elections a obi entumi en win because ye wi elections no na president Kufo nya 48.4%. President Mills no ye vice president to President Rawlings and a big ye candidate Mills for NDC in 2000 onunya 44.8% to be 50 plus 1%. That was here called second round in 2000. That was the first election. Maybe here one you joy FM for the year, but go school, but still I helped them in the election. So I'm pay volunteers. They do pay volunteer, but that's why me they do elections. I have volunteers. No much because any idea workers don't bet me all the 275 constituencies are not electoral areas and our voting centers. I got to abantu obi the students. I can't honey a year juma. Enti me no amu year juma 2000. Enti waba now who there now we are now also year politics. Now the other than you don't understand the issues. Yeah, juma na cho. You don't understand the issues. Read it. Read it. Tobu read it. You will get it. Just read. You will get it. What I say because you're spending 100 years near the diatema and fixing a gatano and fixing a diania and fixing inflation and fixing interest rate. There are specific issues. As media for a one microphone, your camera. Our job is to use your platform to ask critical questions and do critical analysis. If floating voter is the best because or analyzing me road in yet. But I promise me so by me road. When your Bosnia say, Bosnia do say now, promises I won't Bosnia, but this the only pan analysis. Of what a beer or dream Hosano. And your vote or your Rollins in the community, maybe NDC for life. And I'm a young to me NDC for life. Only person on your floating voter. Maybe I'm a Santini to me NPP for life. On your floating voter because you are not analyzing issues. What the way I would do, maybe I'll feel. And all the sentiments and how they talk, but you are robbing Ghanaians because you are supposed to use your gumptions to analyze policy. Dear Nani Panasu obey. One more roadmap or the bayer, one more timelines or the bayana, one more how or bayana. Those are the issues we want you to deal with. I guess here by young company, if you bet me, a do election heat in the bar. I worry for crowd by no way when this way when people no move or man but after that, everybody goes on. What I say? After that, everybody goes on. No be moving on. If you look at the issues again, me see 2000 elections, President Kufo, President Mills, and you'll be in 1 more 50% here. Cause second round, and a small parties in your best supporting President Kufo. To second round, you are not President Kufo, 57.4%. Who added on floating voters? Smaller parties. Joining President Kufo no winning 2001 election. 2008, to the fast forward and 2008. About 40,000 people extra. 2008. Okay, so I candidate Nanado. Sabena President Kufo Nkobio, candidate Nanado. And Nana only a friend saying Echo. Candidate Nanado ne Professor Mills. Professor Mills campaign or
I say a PRIZM MULTIMEDIA. Koswa ne subscribe. E kobasi ye video tuma. Wetimi ehununia so. Edin bako pe e na fafre me make meje so. Mesiha damu nyina amase mamomoni hwa makram.